Gee. So most of my clients are like, they're wondering, how do they handle it? What are they feeling? What's theirs? What's going to happen? Why is this happening? Is it real? Is it fake? Like, there's just so much confusion kind of going on. And I think that's when we're talking about fear, that's where a lot of fear comes from, is from the unknowing and the confusion and the multiple streams and multiple ways that things can come out. So, but that's like one of the number one things is like the anxiety coming up from fear-based stuff. So well, absolutely.
I do know personally, like for me, I don't like a shopping experience anyway. So my go-to has always been to order and have it delivered. So for me as an empath, as a healer, when I go out, I get very overwhelmed, especially when it's a high stress environment. Like I can go to a club or a bar or a concert and feel fine because that energy is just a different kind of vibration. But the kind of intensity that's like going on, I'm like literally walking around with like my throat feeling blocked and tears and just feeling a little anxious. And I know for people that, and since this is an awakening period, obviously our planet's going through this huge shift, right? And so we have this awakening period. And of course you can hear me going back and forth all the time about like, well, birth isn't pretty. It's loud and messy and painful and bloody and wet and vulnerable and crazy. So as we're going through birth, well, both dying things and birth are the same energy, right?
Mm-hmm. So it's like the phoenix rebirthing.
Yeah, so we have like, I mean, and I'm not just talking about the planet, I'm talking about ascension going on, and we're starting to feel this. And so as we're having all these uncomfortable things, the only thing you can do is push through it. So bear down and push through it. I mean, and actually just, and fear is contagious, but so is playfulness and so is joy. So I would encourage everybody to just jump around and play and get your music out and play with your kids. I mean, we're trying to talk Vanessa and Miss Moxie over there into doing some TikTok videos, and she did an adamant no.
She's like, no way. Well, and also too, it's important that we reserve our fearful energies and emotions for things that actually matter. So when we're afraid of something, then we tend to go in our heads and we think about like all the stuff in the past that has happened, or all the things in the future that could possibly happen. And then what we would do in each of those situations if those things happen. And we're going through and we're thinking of all these things in our head when like our actual reality is pretty calm. It's pretty safe. And so we end up creating all these emotions just dump into us. And then we wonder why when stress and danger really is there, or something really does go wrong, or we do have to man up and handle it and bear down, why we're so tired, exhausted, and depleted, and we're not able to bear down and handle it. I love that analogy because when I was given birth, it was interesting because one of my children, we did kind of a natural induction. And so we did things, and then the midwife, worked with us, and then she's like, okay, now go home and sleep. Because if your body is tired, then when you go into bear down and have your baby mode, it will shut down and will stop. And so I think that's also a lot of what people are experiencing now is like the shutdown, because they're like, oh, I'm just going to shut down because it's too much. Well, it's not too much. You're in your head too much. And that's what's making it too much. Have you been seeing some of that too on your end? No. What? Can you hear me? It's very technology. I'm like, no, you sound like a robot. It's a cyborg.
You do.
Me?
No, Karma, you sound like a robot.
She started talking, I'm like, no! That's why so many of us have a fear of speaking.
Right. All right, let's hear her now. Technology.
Moxie, what's your view? Because you sound beautiful, it's clear.
Oh, it is all, that's been the biggest thing is what the number of what ifs, right? What if this happens? I got to try to make a plan. I've got to get together. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have this. And so for me, it's just trying to slow people down a little bit and remind them that, like, what are your immediate needs? Because immediate needs, in retrospect to the other, I mean, we all think very linearly, right? And so we talk a lot about the fact that people don't know how to save for retirement simply because it's so far out of the future and it's so like way out there. And so because it's so unknown, it's not something that they're really, really comfortable doing. And so if you can get people to, I think that if you get people to start thinking about your immediate needs, what are your immediate needs right now today? And what are your immediate needs tomorrow? Then it creates a calm and it kind of quiets all of the noise, the emotional noise that's going on, because they want to have an answer about what's going on a month from now. What am I going to do 3 months from now? But everything changes so fast. And we've seen huge changes in the last couple of weeks. Like we were, to, oh, it's going to be fine, to, oh, wait, this is kind of big. Schools were going to shut down for 2 weeks. Now they're shutting down for 6 more weeks. So my encouragement right now has just been to try and tell my clients and those people that are reaching out to me that you've got to just kind of focus in on your immediate needs and the people you love, their immediate needs. Like, what are my kids' immediate needs? So do I have enough food right now? Yes. Do I have shelter for now? Yes. That's really all we can do.
Well, and the other thing too, I was just talking about feelings, and which is, I was having this deep conversation with that client that was on the phone for 2.5 hours the other day. We were talking about emotions, the difference between men and women. And it was something I wanted to talk about, which is very different for women and men. I think it's both the same, but for us, emotions are very chemical. So fear is a chemical response, right? It's that adrenaline, it's the fight or flight. And so we can't really think about future pacing when we're thinking about what's in front of us right now, and especially when it's chemical. Joy is chemical. That rewires your DNA. We can't look to a place of solutions where we're coming from a scarcity mentality, which is all fear. The tighter you hold on to something, the less room there is to fill your hand with more, because it's full of what you have, because you're just paranoid that you're going to lose that and you don't want to let go of that grip. But we do that with everything. We do that in our relationships. We do that with our money. We do that with our fear, our emotions, and it's literally chemical. And so as we have these literal toxins in our body, we are finding, I don't know about you, but I'm craving greener things. I bought a shit ton of vegetables today because my body's looking for all of that, the super green, superfood stuff, because these toxins that I'm physically processing, I was on my live last night, and I always call it the room, but somebody came into the chat and I was like, whoa, burn some sage, guys. I can feel this in my body, because they're afraid, right? And I mean, Hollie's good at clearing that stuff too. It's her special.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Oh, yes. Well, when shit gets to be in your title, that's really fun. Crap clearer. One thing, though, that I do love is when we think about fear, because a lot of times people are like, well, yeah, but it's justified, right? Because this really bad thing did happen, or this emotion is really awful and I hate feeling it. And so, yeah, I'm going to strategically plan ahead in my head so that I can think of all the possible outcomes, and then I can feel calm. But one of the things it does is it dumps all of that chemical into your body. And so the fear, so like one of my favorites is like when people have a fear of, well, right now, fear of scarcity. Well, I'm afraid there won't be enough. Great. So as you think about that solution, you're actually feeling the emotion, dumping it in your body, then acting it out in your head. And it's as if it actually just happened. That's why we love movies, because when you're watching a movie, you actually forget you're you and you think you're the other person. Like, oh, the dog died. You know that dog is alive. You know it's fake. You know everything's just there and it's pretend. It's the same thing when we go in our heads. We know it's fake because we know we're just thinking about it, but our body doesn't know that and our mind doesn't know that, and it dumps all the chemicals in, and then we go into stress mode. But then we now have another issue on top of the issue, because our adrenal glands get depleted, we get more tired, we get more irritable, and then we're quarantined with people all the time in our immediate family, and everybody's chewing too loud, and I never realized my kid picked his nose so much, and now I'm going nuts over that, and I'm even more sanitizing it. And really, when you boil down to it, it's like, okay, what can I control? What can't I control? And here's my favorite is like when there's an emotion like scarcity. So I don't know, you guys we've all had scarcity stories where we really had a real situation where there really wasn't enough for something, whether it was support or love or time or attention. And then we really didn't have that experience. So it became a true thing. But then we turned around and found a way to make it through. Look, we're here. We survived. And I think that's the piece to remember, is that hard things will happen, but you'll handle it when you get there. You've already had all these years of training of not having enough, or even those brief moments of not having enough. So now it's like, and now my budgeting skills come into action. Ooh, my feeding a large family and rationing everything out comes into action. And so do you feel like there's a skill set that helps to combat a lot of those like stressful situations that there isn't even a need to like prepare in your head a million times over?
Not anymore, especially since like especially this last 8 months. I mean, literally love my habits though, because I am seeing that I go open my fridge and I'm like, oh no, I only have a half a thing of oil, and right behind it was a jar, a brand new one, because if I open one, I buy one, just so that I stay like on rotation. And some of those habits have been like, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I was just going to mention a comment where you were saying, one of the things that has been exciting for me, and it goes back to NLP practitioner, PSI seminars, doing my psychic work, and coming from a place of abundance, I stopped looking at items as becoming scarce and starting to recognize that there's so many other resources possible, like hydroponics or solar, or just the ingenuity of mankind is so beautiful. And it's like you see people turning seawater into water, right? You're seeing people do, buying up rainforests to keep them protected. You see people doing so many more ingenious things at a time where we have been planning for the apocalypse. My family and I had this whole end of the world thing going on 20 years ago. And we were planning for the apocalypse. But what's true is it's so exciting to see that vision shift and starting to see people go, no, we're not doing it like that. We're not going to end up with, what was it, Mad Max. We're not doing Mad Max. We're doing instead, right? And so I refuse to be hoarding. I mean, does Karma have a Glock 27 fully loaded one in the chamber? Yes. However, my mentality is all about, let's create utopia. Let's tribe up. My neighbors, Moxie and I are talking about which vegetables I'm growing, which vegetables she's growing, what resources I have, how we're doing things together. And that's the bulk of the conversations that I'm seeing more often. And I just have so much more hope. And I do have more hope in my life, don't I?
Well, and it's also important to like notice when you are dipping down, when you are going into that scarcity, because it's a balance, right? And so you will have moments where it's like, oh, what was that?
I call her, she's my machine.
Oh.
She's always like, listen, here's the real deal. Like she'll warn me, she'll call me, like her brain is a machine. And I wanted to give her a chance too, to talk a little bit about the science, about what's going on and the numbers, because Moxie's tracking these numbers, and she's what instantiation looks like. And so if you want to talk about some science, about some numbers and data, I mean, she's been following this and showing me what the potential looks like and why certain things are important. And when people are reaching out and they're going, I don't know if I should believe this, Moxie's like, well, here, look at this. Do you have any of that to share with us or no?
Okay, so here's the deal with the numbers, though. The numbers, I've been watching the numbers since before, because there's a geometric progression, right? And I'm like all about geometric progression. So when you start to see things doubling, I always give everybody an example, like an MLM, right? They tell you if you can recruit 2 people, then right? And those 2 people recruit 2 more people, and then those people recruit 2 more people. And then you start to get to a point where things are, the doubling up, this geometric progression is huge. And so the thing about it though right now is that those numbers are scarier than they need to be, if that makes sense, right? Because what bothers me right now is the statistics. Statistics are incomplete sentences. All statistics are an incomplete sentence, and I really hate that. So one of the things that I tell people is that you've got to finish out every sentence. And I'm trying to come up with an example in my head all of a sudden, but so if somebody tells you, hey, 4 out of 5 people tested positive for, I don't know, the abundance gene. Let's just say they got tested.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend Colgate.
Right, 4 out of 5, but exactly. But the whole sentence is not there. So the whole sentence is that 4 out of 5 dentists that we questioned, and we only questioned 100 out of 700,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's no, the rest of the sentence. So everybody's getting these numbers and these topics and these fear-based media outlets right now that are saying, it's a 2% mortality rate. But the real truth is that the sentence needs to finish out like it's a 2% mortality rate for people over 80.
So you're talking about like sharing the bigger picture, that we're only getting this much of a picture at a time.
Yeah, we're only getting little bits. So having that fear is a ton, because people are sharing incomplete information or short sentences, what I'm saying about half sentences. And if you can take a minute to complete a sentence for someone, that's what calms most people down. And it's completing it. One of the examples I got was a lady told me, you know, we were talking gun control, and that's a huge topic, but she said, you know, if my kid was hitting another kid, I would take the stick away. And I was like, that's great. And so that's what she's going around, and she's telling everybody, you've got to take it away, because if my kid hit another kid, I would take his stick. But would you take everyone else's stick, everyone who wasn't? Would you cut down all the trees? Like, there's a whole other side.
That's my girl. You see why I love her? I mean, I just love, not only are her analogies beautiful, but her data is sound. Like, she's brilliant. But there is another component to this. One of the questions that I find that's, and sorry to take over, but one of the questions that people are talking about is I hear this one all the time too, where people say, it's just like the flu. So I'm going to come to you with a scientific kick in the nuts too, because here's what's true. I did 20 years and I was an EMS instructor. Okay. So, and I have both sides of the fence going on out there. I have people that look at it like the herd inoculation, which means if I'm enough around people, I get micro doses of the substance or the bacterium, whatever kind of way, so that I get a little bit of immunity because I'm exposed to it in micro doses, blah, 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 yeah. But I have people on both sides of the fence. You know, paramedics are like, it's too late. And then I got the other ones going, look, universal precautions. However, let's just remove all that for a minute. And let's talk about, because I was on the phone this morning with my ex-husband, and we were talking, and he goes, I have a buddy that's on it. He got sick and he's on the tail end, and he's going, it's not that bad. And I'm going, well, on the other hand, here's Karma getting a phone call from my respiratory therapist friend that I've known for 10 years, who literally has a mission about pulmonary care because his daughter died at 3 from a pulmonary infection. And he became an RT because of this. And he's saying, Karma, the x-rays are terrifying. We're talking young, healthy tissue. And when it takes a turn fast. We're talking a 33-year-old with, decreased lung function rapidly. And he's like, man, we just ordered 50 ventilators because the x-rays on these people are devastating. And he goes, and when it moves fast. And we can't find the one piece of data that will tell us what it is that's causing young people to trip that little switch, because it's not our 80, 90-year-olds, it's an unpredictable. So if you can prevent your 21 or 30-year-old from having it, and us normal, healthy adults, and we can just practice a little bit of carefulness, please do so. Because I'm seeing the people, the boots on the ground, telling me that, yeah, even though you may not, and all the epidemiology of how it's getting transmitted, etc. But in the bottom line is there's a possibility it can take that flip. So we're not saying to be fearful, be aware, right? Come from places of solutions, look beyond this, put some healing energy out there, be smart. Just because you don't want to be afraid doesn't mean go running naked and frolic in the public pool.
That sounds actually kind of fun though.
I was like, well, yeah, I do have a tub outside. I have a private pool outside. It's just a big bathtub, so I do frolic naked in that. But teach their own.
Well, stay in joy. Pay attention to who you. I mean, a lot of us, we already had some relationships in motion. So we had, family members, sick family members, healthy family members, people that we're taking care of. So our demographics aren't always exactly what we want. So it's not just a great little platitude to go, be careful who you surround yourself with at this point, because we are going to encompass and encounter individuals who have a little fear mentality. And those of us that are a little elevated, it's our job to level that a little bit, neutralize it a little bit, throw some salt. There's a little bit of that. So Holly, what are we going to do when a client or a neighbor comes to us and freak out? What would be some skills that you would tell us to
breathe? That's why we're going to be at the salt rooms, and breathe. So the deep breath is important. And there's a moment in our body where you can feel it. And most people right now, most of the clients that are coming to me, they feel it before they see it come out. So they start to get antsy. They start to maybe get a little sick to their stomach, and kind of that's where the anxiety and fear like to hang out. And so they'll start to come sensing it and not really sure what they're sensing. And a lot of times they're sensing other people's fear. It's not even their own. And so anybody who's empathic can absorb other people's crap. And so salt is powerful for that. So I noticed, it was so funny. We went to Harmon's today, and I love it. They have a guy who it is his set job to sanitize all of the carts. And then they line them up very carefully, so you know you're getting an already sanitized cart. And then they have sanitary supplies you can wipe them down with. And I was like, I love this. They're right when you walk in, they're like, hey, you know what? We are very attentive. We're very aware, and we're taking care of it. And then we're going down the aisles, and I went down the toilet paper aisle. I didn't have toilet paper on my list. Everyone's like, do you need one? I was like, well, no, we have enough for now, and I'm sure more will show up. If not, we will just shower a lot. And I have one of those cool showers with a detachment, so you wash what's important. And so, but I went down the paper aisle. I was like, what is this place? And it's like black, just empty black. And I was like, oh, this is the toilet paper aisle. And I'm like laughing. And it's finding that joy. And then I look over and I'm like, wait, look, there's evidence that this is a toilet paper aisle. You know why? Because there's 3 boxes of tissues. And so I grabbed one because I only need one. I have one dose. And I'm like, now 2 other people get tissues. And then I go over and I'm like, well, I do have paper towels on my list as well. And I'm literally getting only what's on my list. And so I see the paper towels and I'm like, oh, I do need paper towels. And they had like 6 of them and they're all the way pushed back. And I was like, 1. Yay, I have 1. And then I went down and I was like, oh, hand wipes. And I'm like dancing in the aisle. I'm like, I found hand wipes. You know, and it felt like almost, my son's been really into video games, and it's funny, he's got his like mic on with his friends. He's like, it's awesome. We can spawn our creatures in this game, and we can check in on them, and we don't have school getting in the way of it because we go to school and then we come back and we go. So like he's learning how to manage his time. And so I'm like, this is awesome. He's doing self-mastery right now, and I don't even have to be on him. And so it's kind of like that, where it's like, I just hit a new level, high score, yes. And I looked at him, I'm like, okay, they're not the antibacterial, but they're like baby wipes. And then my sweetheart, he's like, well, why don't you just go get baby wipes? And I'm like laughing, this guy. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, go in the baby aisle and see. And we turned the corner, absolutely 0 baby wipes. And it was like, what are these poor moms gonna do? Now I don't even want these baby wipes. I want to take these wipes over here that they probably don't know exist and put them here. And so, but it was really awesome to see how much celebration there was and making a game out of it. And I could have been going down like, oh no, I need to take all 5 of these and I need to take all of these because there's not going to be enough. There's not going to be enough. And it's like, I believe in abundance. If not, I'll put one. It's funny because my daughter's, I don't know. Well, one of my dear friends, we have kids with the same man. And so we share a baby daddy. Our kids are siblings. So it's like, what do you call ourselves? We used to call each other sister wives, but neither of us were married to them. So now we're like sister exes. I don't know.
Anyway, I like sister exes.
Yes. And she's like 3 blocks from me, and she's one of my absolute favorite people. And I love her so much because as soon as I posted like, hey, look, it's a high score. I got wipes, paper towels, and tissues. Woo! No toilet paper. That's next time for high stakes round. And she messaged me instantly. And she was like, do you need some TP? Because I got you, girl. And I was like, see? And you guys even had that where you're like, I got you. Like, somebody has your back because of all the good and all the joy that you put out. It's going to come back 3 times 3. It comes back to you. And sometimes I'll even say that in my head. I'm like, 3 times 3, it comes back to me. And it helps me to remember what I'm sending out.
Well, we were walking down the aisle and we had a similar experience where I had needed milk or whatever. And we were all as a group discussing. I pulled the milk out because I didn't want the 1%, and I don't even drink it, but I was getting it for the little one at the house. And I saw some and the guy gave them to us and I was pulling them out and I saw people looking at me and I'm like, what do you need? And I was handing it and the lady's like, well, I should probably take 2. I said, I'm only getting it for the baby. She's like, nope, she gave it back. And like, here we are as a group, like deciding what, like, judicious use of it, you know. And like today we were at the grocery store picking up the remainder of the things we needed, and I heard this old man, he's yelling at some other dude, you might as well stock up now, you're not going to see this again. And I literally saw 3 or 4 people, including me and my son. We turned around and I was like, that's the problem. And a couple other people turned around like, no, we're good, take what you need but leave the rest on the. And I saw people policing that attitude because that's the attitude that's going to perpetuate the scarcity, right? Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, you know, to see people talking, you know, and And even like Moxie was saying how her neighborhood got on like a little group chat. What was it they said? Did they go door to door or just text?
They just went door to door. And they were like checking, and he's like, hey, if you need anything, we have a little extra, let us know. And then just, they're all going around to each person in our cul-de-sac, and it's so sweet. But, you know, talking about going into the grocery store, that's when my calm, I saw it on the news and I saw it everywhere. And it was just like, well, wait, should we be rushing out? And I was like, well, there's a couple of things that we do need. JC doesn't drink regular milk. She drinks soy milk, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, well, I'm going to make a run to Costco. And I went to Costco and I was there and I was like, I saw all of this stuff, right? No, there was no toilet paper. No, there was no bottled water. No, there was no rice. But there was all this other food. And I'm like,
there are Oreos. I'm just saying.
There's Oreos.
You know what? When the world ends, we're all just going to enjoy all the junk food, because that was what had me laughing. There was Oreos. Oh, yeah. And I remember how I got on this subject, too, because there was a huge end cap. And Tyson looked at it. He's like, you know what? You may not have toilet paper, but look, honey, you have all the Epsom salt you could ever want. Fully stocked. And I was like, yes. And he's like, we need to do a tub day, you know, and we will. We'll just like, because the big soaker tub they have is big enough for two. So we just run out there and you can fill the whole thing with salt and just soak. And places have that because no one's talking about salt.
I wandered around the Asian and the international aisle, and I'm a sneaky shopper because I like to go over there because sometimes your beef and chicken bouillon can be half the price because it's got a different printing on it. And so I was over there looking for my beef bouillon, and that's where I found the rice I was looking for, a 15-pound bag. But then I got to looking and I'm like, look, man, I don't really need potatoes and rice because I can make curry. There's all this stuff over here, and there's all this stuff over here, and there's these refried beans. And I mean, of course I have plenty of beans because I'm this vegetarian over here, but I was like, you guys, stop going hardcore. Like, breathe a little bit, reach out to your neighbors. We so got this.
We do. It's going to be okay. It may not be what we're used to. It may not be the same, but there's plenty out there.
And let me just say this. It may not be what we're used to, but get used to doing better, because I do believe that we are leveling up at this point. You know what I'm saying? And like I was saying before, in the caption of one of the videos we didn't manage to get to go live, was that said, if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I really do see our tribe banding together and doing better. And I said this in the grocery store, and the little lady was walking with me and we were discussing what we were looking for. We were going to help each other figure it out. And I looked at her and I said, I am proud of our community. I am so proud of this community.
You know, one thing I do love too, though, is I actually keep finding so many good things about it. I don't know. I'm sure people want to just slap me, but one, Hollie Hope. So that's really what you'd expect, right? So one of the things that I love is, if you think of like our grandparents or great grandparents, depending on your age, or even parents that lived through like the Great Depression. And we used to, like, my mother-in-law, I would poke fun at her all the time because she would have her sandwich bags. She would use them and then she would wash them, turn them inside out, and have them dry. So she would reuse so much because they went through this time of not having anything. And how many times have we been telling our planet, like, hey, let's reuse, let's reduce our trash, let's make things last a little bit longer, let's be more self-sufficient. And so it's almost like, yes, this is a perfect opportunity that we can have the excuse to do that without anybody going, oh my gosh, you're a total weirdo. Why would you reuse your sandwich baggies? Oh my gosh, why are you, I like remember the days when if you brought your lunch to school in a lunch box, you were weird. You're supposed to use like paper bags or have hot lunch every day, which produces more waste and all of that. But now it's like, oh, if I bring my own lunch and my specially prepared meals, then I'm actually cool and I'm well taken care of. And so it's funny because it's like flipped, but I love it because it's an opportunity for all of us to be reminded of, hey, let's be less wasteful. Let's pay attention to what we're spending our money on. Let's pay attention to where we're spending our time, or what we're sending out saying there's not enough, or not even really paying attention to where it comes from. Like, where does meat come from?
Well, and we have this huge opportunity to take a look at the other commodities that we use too. And I'm talking energy of all kinds, and also of like, now that we're stuck in the house, like, how dependent are we on escapism modalities, like how much alcohol, marijuana, and going out with other individuals, like how much social time that's taking away from the functionality of the family. So you're finding out, if any of you are going through this and are pissed at me for bringing this up, my bad, but you're starting to find out where the lack is in your relationships, whether you built your relationships or you depleted them, whether you were a giver or whether you were a taker. You're starting to see all of your habits in a different way, and starting to see, you know, am I addicted to the internet? Because how many times am I having a conversation online that I should be having time with my child or my partner? Or, and also the other thing that I thought was amazing, because my big practice with coming to St. George since October has been about slowing down. My nickname is Bullet, because boyfriend's like, you're having 5 conversations and I don't know which one we're having, which one you want to follow along with. And so are you going to ricochet or get to the point? Because Bullet, get on it. And so, like, how much we don't know how to slow down. How many of us do not know how to sit still without any conversation, music, television? I know I'm a little bit of a speed freak all the time. So, and that's great. It made me a great paramedic. But now that my whole speed has slowed down a little bit, and I'm actually have an opportunity to listen to myself in meditation and hear my own voice. So this is an experience for a lot of people. That anxiety that they're so used to go, and now they slow down and they feel like they're supposed to be doing something and they're missing something. This is a huge learning curve for a lot of us.
And I think it's just like a habit change, like a flow. Like, we'll get used to it. We'll figure it out. It's not going to be forever. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I can slow down. It's just the shock initially, but eventually the shock's going to wear off, and it'll be like second nature to do the protective measures, and second nature to flow and to sit and to be still and all of that.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, because I've just been like all excited, going to everybody like, see, I told you don't have to leave your house. See, I told you I'm perfectly happy at home. See, we don't need to be out in the world. I can stay home.
Introvert stream.
It's like, I told you all along, yes, I can manage in my house for 2 weeks without going out in public. It's great. You don't have to do
I don't like to leave the house. I'm super pissed about having to go to the store. God damn it, I gotta go to the Walmart. Because they're not delivering.
I've been canning and bottling chicken and stuff, and I'm just like so happy at my house. I'm like, see, I could have been Laura Ingalls.
Well, anything else we want to talk about before we let these people go back to what they're doing? I don't even know if they're paying attention.
Just spread some light, spread some joy. You can choose. Well, and it's funny because, that's something I wanted to add is, and that might be a really good thing for me to sign off with, but is understanding that in those moments, like, we're going to feel moments where we're down. We're going to feel moments where we're stressed, and to like breathe with it and just be with it for a moment, so then it can go away and we can have that choice to say, okay, now what am I going to do? Am I going to sit and be sad and afraid and stop and scare everybody else? Or am I going to flip it and give some joy, give some hope? I even had my own little moment, like one of the days when all this started happening, and I was just like, oh, and I could like feel so much grief and so much fear from everybody, from the planet. So it's probably really good that I live kind of more remote, because I couldn't imagine living in a city and feeling everybody. And I sat there and I was like, wait a minute, your name is Hollie Hope. What's going to happen if you decide to sit here and mope or be afraid or to shut down and shut out and seclude? Like, go be who you were supposed to be. Shine, go out, give something, do anything except be this black hole. And I was like, oh, thank you for that slap in the face, Hollie. And I was like, you're welcome. And then I went off. And so
breathe, like you were saying, breathe through it, because that's usually other people's energy too. Like when I went to Vegas, I was literally nauseous the next morning. I'm like, this is a lot of people and they're all stressed out. I gotta go.
Yeah. Well, and if we think of like how many times there's a human cycle, and this is probably some of the stuff that you know more about, Moxie, is like there's a cycle of humanity that goes through. And I can't even remember which books I read it from to quote it and sound like an expert, but it was like we go through different cycles where something negative happens, and then there's a bunch of fear and scarcity, and then we kind of start building up, and then we get full of ourselves, and then we get over the top and into consumption and materialism and forget who we are, and then something rough happens, then we go scared again, and we kind of start this cycle. And so it's just like that cycle again. You think about, there's the Great Depression, I'm like thinking of things that I lived through.
Church calls that the apostasy.
There's like 9/11. There's, yeah, I mean, it's gonna come up, and I'm like, I remember those moments where I was really scared, and I really thought that the world had come to an end and it was about to be here, and it's like, no, we're the tough ones. That's why we're here. Like, we got
Karma,
this.
Steele.
Yes.
All right,
Well,
ladies.
Thanks for hanging out with me. We're gonna do this again now that I figured it out.
Yay!
Love and light. If you want to get some of your shit cleared, call Hollie. You want a tarot reading, call Karma, and I will do a little bit of that. You want some astrology. I think we all do a little bit of everything, but Miss Moxie's a master with astrology, so she can tell you your daily aspects. So if you want to reach out to any of us, if you feel led to reach out for any of the other questions with either one of us, just please find us. Our links will be available. We will be back. We plan on making this a regularly scheduled program.
We're adding another redhead. Tiffany will be with us next time.
That's right. And I'm gonna look more excited next time, because I had someone text me, Brent, that said I looked bored, and I apologize. I'm very attentive.
You're just doing it all in your head.
I am.
Smiley inside. I'm listening.
I'm smiley inside.
Well,
Yeah,
when,
okay.
I will tell you what, though, when Moxie speaks, she drops knowledge, so she doesn't use any wasted breath. So if she sits bored, she's thinking. There's not a quiet moment in that woman's mind. I love you. Thank you, ladies.
Love you.
Guys.
Bye, guys.